Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video that is in collaboration with some of my booktube best friends. Tori from Live a Novel Life had this idea and asked us, and I'm not positive who all said yes, but I'm pretty sure most of us are doing this video today, so I will link down below everybody's video once they are live. And the video idea she had was sharing books that you have to read before the end of the year. So these are books that I've absolutely loved, that I'm like, why haven't you read these yet? You have to pick them up over the next 4 months before it is the end of 2022, because these are some that I've loved or I've seen friends loving that I've loved that you have to read and that are absolute 5-star reads. I've adored them. So I will get to the books. I do know there's one where probably majority of us, at least Sam and Tori, will have on their video as well, but I think we were supposed to have 10 and I have 12. Sorry, I could not narrow this list down, but the first one I'm gonna get out of the way. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This has blown up, and I do think that Sam was the first of us to pick it up and read it. She had messaged us a photo and was like, have you guys been seeing this everywhere lately? I'm intrigued. And we're all like, no. And then literally like that week we started seeing it pop up everywhere, and Lachlan from Locke's Library was obsessing over it. I saw in a video I watched of hers. So Sam read it, obsessed over it. Tori started it, was obsessing, so I read it and I'm obsessed. It is very angsty, it is very character driven, and it is kind of messy and very toxic, and it's about BJ and Magnolia. They had fallen in love in the past. BJ cheats on her and they've been broken up since, but they will not stop being around each other and hurting each other on purpose, drawing people into their messy relationship, hurting other people, and it's so good. I was obsessed. I did an entire reading vlog for it, and I'm gonna read Daisy Hates hopefully this weekend of the weekend I'm filming this, and Daisy Hates is book 2, but one of my favorite books of the year. It's going to be on my favorite books of the year list at the end of the year. You have to read it if you haven't yet. Every single one of these books are by an author that I have been like obsessed with this year. So the next one though is one I just finished yesterday and is by a new to me author, but I'm pretty sure this will probably be in someone's video that is also doing this video, but it is Flawless by LT Silver. When I tell you guys, I'm obsessed with this book. I read it in like 3 days, and that's pretty quick for me now that school is back and I'm working full time. I devoured this. This one is a bull riding romance. It is forced proximity. It's a little bit of an age gap, and it has such good banter. So our heroine works in PR for her father's company. She did go to law school, graduated just so she could work for her father, and their client, Rhett, is a bull rider, and he has a lot of sponsorships. He is getting up there in age to do something so physical. He is like in his early 30s, and his body has taken a brutal beating over the past like 10 plus years he's been bull riding, and so he is trying to win like the big title this year because he's already won it twice. However, someone records him talking how much he hates milk, and one of his biggest sponsorships is a milk company, and so he is dropped by his sponsor, and all these other sponsors are dropping him, and our heroine's dad is like, he needs fixed ASAP. Like, please, you have to watch him and make sure he does not get into any more trouble. So the heroine has to live with Rhett and his family at his family's farm and follow him everywhere. And that includes a 1-bed scenario in a hotel room because her heat is broken in her hotel room. And he's like, you are staying with me, and there's only 1 bed. And it is so good. There's so much banter between them, especially in the beginning. He has such an amazing family. I loved her relationship with her father and her trying to sift through her relationship with her stepmom and her sister, which is a very rocky relationship. There were so many layers to this book, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the romance. Rhett falls so hard for the heroine, and it was so good. I'm obsessed. One of my favorite books of the year, probably. You need to read it if you haven't yet. I know this has been blowing up on Instagram and in the Amazon charts for good reason. I finally read it. I wholeheartedly agree. You need to read it. The next author I talk about literally nonstop because every book I read by her, I just started another one today, and I'm obsessed. Like, she can do no wrong, and that is Catherine Cowles. The book I'm recommending is Tattered Stars. It's not my absolute favorite, but this is my favorite series by her. I gave this one 4 stars. Like, I love this book so much, but I want you to read the series in order so you can get to my 5-star reads, and that's why I'm telling you to read this book to spur you on. If I could, I would recommend just the entire series for this video, but this one is revolving around this cult and this kidnapping that happened. So every book has to do with someone affected by this thing that happened, and in the past, the heroine of this book, her father kidnapped the hero's little sister, and the heroine saw what was happening. She rode her horse into town and told the police, and the police saved the little girl. Now everyone's grown up. She is being ostracized by her family, and someone's doing things bad to her, and she thinks it's her family. And so she is the one who turned them in. They left town. Now she is back at their old land wanting to open an animal sanctuary. The hero does not want anything to do with her. He is very angry that she's there because he actually harbors some guilt over his sister's kidnapping, but he takes his guilt out on her and is just very angry and hates her. But he is also trying to protect her from someone who is trying to harm her now that she's back in town, and they end up falling in love. This one's super, super sweet. I really liked it. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. Like, it was super close to a 5-star read for me, but then the series only gets better. Like, trust me, especially when you get to books 3 and 4, they were 5-star reads for me, and book 5 is going to be so good. So if you like a small town romance with some romantic suspense involved, with a lot of history between the characters, please read this book. Then I have Sweet Dandelion by Magnolia Parks. I finally read this book this year, and it is such a good book, and I'm obsessed with Magnolia Parks now. I've read 3 of her books this year now, and she has quickly become one of my favorite authors. This one is a very, very emotional romance. Our heroine survives a school shooting that she lost her mother in. Her mother was a teacher at the school, and we don't get it specifically like full-blown on page. We do get a couple flashbacks, but she is now living with her older brother and going to a new school, and she has to go to therapy. She was actually shot as well, and so she used to really enjoy running, and she can't anymore because she doesn't have as much mobility with her leg, and so she's just trying to start at a new school, make new friends, and she has to have appointments with the school's guidance counselor every week or every day. It might be every day, and it's their romance, and it is just so beautiful. It's definitely forbidden. Very, very emotional, but they are also neighbors as well. He lives on the floor above her brother, and it just develops into something just very emotional because she also knows she has to work on herself, and I really appreciated how their relationship was not easy whatsoever, and there were repercussions to them having a forbidden relationship like the way they did, and she goes through so much and has to do a lot of soul searching and spending time on her own and figuring out her life, which I really, really appreciated. So this one has a lot of depth to it. I absolutely loved it. It's very long. I read the audiobook though, and it was so good, and the hero has a dog who was really cute as well. So I need a romance for her brother and her best friend, like separately. She has a guy best friend and she has a brother, and they both need their own books because I need to know their romances. Another super emotional book that just hit me that you need to read, even though it's been out for quite a while. I've been putting off reading this because I know it's emotional, and it was emotional, and it came out in 2016, but that is The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This is book 3 in the series, but they definitely all are standalones. I don't even know how they're connected. I read book 1, then I read book 4, and then I went back and read book 3, and it was amazing. So Maggie was in a incident when she was young. She was going off into the woods to meet up with our hero. They were both like 9 or 10 or something, and she stumbles across something that she gets lost in the woods and sees a man doing something horrible, and then he physically assaults her, and she is horrified, and she ends up escaping and never speaking a word again and never leaving her house again. She just remembers him telling her to be quiet, and so she is horrified, and our hero feels a lot of guilt over what happened because he feels like he should have been there for her, and they grow up together. She never leaves the house though. He's always there for her, and then he is in a band who makes it big, so he leaves, and they have on and off again relationship, and he is the absolute sweetest, and then we get them as adults, and it is just amazing. This takes us on a really long journey of them when they are children to when they are adults now, trying to figure out a relationship together. He is so, so sweet. Like, the things he does, I'm obsessed with our hero in this book. We get this scene as well, and it just like broke my heart so much, and I just love this book. It's so good. There's a lot of complexity with her family as well. There are people who say and do bad things to her, and she wants to understand why and really delves into those characters and overcomes things that happen, and I really enjoy that as well. So please read this book. I mean, book 4 in the series is one of my favorite books of all time. Brittany C. Cherry can do no wrong. Then I have Parallel by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I feel like Elizabeth O'Rourke is an author that I've also completely become obsessed with this year, and this one I cannot stop thinking about, and I need to continue on in the series because this one is our heroine can see things that have happened in a past life or the future, or she has no idea. She keeps on dreaming of this guy and that he's her husband. She's dreamed about him since she was little. Now she's engaged to someone, they're planning their wedding, and she meets the guy from her dreams. And there's time traveling involved in here. None of our questions are answered in this book, but there's definitely a cliffhanger, and she is engaged to someone and the guy is dating someone, and they're like, wait, we're meant to be. I don't know, why do we know things about each other? And it's just so good. Elizabeth O'Rourke has just the best romantic connections between her characters, and I'm obsessed with her writing. I need to read more by her, but this is definitely something I think that everybody needs to read, and it's definitely unique, and please pick it up. Another book is by an author that I'm also obsessed with, and I have not stopped reading this year, and I chose this one because I did enjoy the first book, but definitely not as much as books 2 and 3, and I think book 2 is definitely the most popular in the series, and you do not have to read these in order, but that is Juniper Hill by Devney Perry. This one is a single mom, grumpy hero. He is a chef at the restaurant that the heroine gets a job at, and she has a newborn baby, and the hero is very damaged because he has lost some things in his past, and seeing her with her child has definitely also really pushed him away from her. But she is renting the garage from him, so she is a neighbor of his. He hears her baby crying all the time. She's really struggling because she is a single mom to a newborn child, and she's trying to have this new job, and it's really, really hard on her, and her and the hero bond so much, and it is so sweet watching him with her son, but he has such a damaged past, and it's very emotional. I really love this one, and I think that this is definitely one that is like collectively loved by people. Book 1 was just okay. I do know not everybody loved book 3, so if you're gonna pick up a Devney Perry, definitely read this one. I think everybody needs to read her this year because she's become my obsession as well as Catherine Cowles this year. Like, I've been obsessed with both of them, and I could not recommend her enough, so please read Juniper Hill. Then I have Danielle Allen, who you guys know is my favorite author. Every year I find a new book by her to obsess over. I loved Business Casual. This one is just a really fun, spicy time because she writes steam so well. I read her new book, so good, and there's just like an undeniable attraction between her characters, and you're dying for them to get together. This one is a office romance, forbidden romance, sneak around together because we can't be together romance, and they cannot keep their hands off each other. So the heroine is at this office building for an interview. She sees a guy in the lobby, and they instantly connect, and they talk to each other. The guy asks her out. She says yes. She goes up to her interview. That guy's her new boss, and so she knocks the interview out of the park. She gets hired, and they're like, well, I guess this can't happen because they've had very not great things happen between employees in their company before, so they are really strict about people dating each other. It's in their contract, they're not allowed to do it. But he's like, you know, technically you're not starting until tomorrow. So they spend the night together, and then that does not satisfy their need for each other whatsoever, and it just like spurs them on even more, and it's so fun. I really love this one. Like I said, Danielle Allen just writes chemistry so well between her characters, and I'm obsessed with this, so you need to read it. And this next one I will not stop talking about. I know people have been reading this book over the last couple years, but I feel like I've seen most people pick it up this year, and I think if you have not read it yet, it's definitely like one of the peak books of the year, and that is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I have not stopped talking about this since I read it in January. It is dark, it is emotional, and it is one of my favorite tropes, which is siblings fiance, like, or my other one is dead siblings fiance or significant other, but this one, her sister's still alive. The beginning of this book starts out with her birthday party, and she has never gotten along with her sister's fiance. The sister's fiance is her age. They went to school together. Her sister has been dating him for like 10 years now. They're engaged, and so the heroine was out drinking. So the heroine can't drive home, so she calls around to people, and the only one who will answer her phone calls is her sister's fiance. They hate each other, they bicker all the time, but she's like, hey, I need a ride home, will you come get me? And he like is, oh, fine, I'll come get you. So he does. They end up being kidnapped on the way home together. They're pulled over by what they think is a police officer. It's not, and they are kidnapped by a serial killer who kidnaps people and makes them fall in love. They are put through a lot of bad things, and the heroine is constantly assaulted. The hero has to do things to her, and it is awful, but they survive and they escape, and they have this intense connection now, and it's really hard for them to get back into the real world, and so they can only turn to each other in times of need where no one else understands, to just talk to each other and like be in the presence of someone who knows what they're going through mentally. And it is so heartbreaking but so good, and I cannot wait to reread this book. Please know it is a very dark beginning. Probably the first 30%, 40% of the book is them in this dark place, so you do have to read that on page, but I have not stopped thinking about this book since I read it, so please read it. And the last one is one I love, and it is Polly, but it's not Polly in the the first book. So it's a 3-book series, but I haven't gotten to the rest yet. But it is Honey Trap by Tate James. I think that this is probably her favorite book of mine I've read, and I only see people talking about her Hades and Madison Kate series. This one is so good. Our heroine is literally an assassin, and she works for this company. So does one of the heroes. He's mostly a hacker, but he has become obsessed with the heroine. He stalks her, and she knows he does, and she has decided to take this job that she knows is his suicide mission. So this job is something that is impossible to kill this guy, and if he even thinks someone is after him, he just kills them. He just does not care. And the heroine knows someone's trying to kill her, and the hero's trying to figure out who, the one hero, but she decides to take this job. And the other hero is the guy she's supposed to kill. So she kind of infiltrates him, and he is fishy about her, so he kidnaps her. She puts on an act. She is a professional where she can act and cry on demand and look like she is completely innocent. And the guy she's supposed to kill is conflicted. He's like, I'm pretty sure she's here to kill me, but she looks like she's not. And so he doesn't know what to do. He kidnaps her and keeps her on this like remote place that him and his team live on, and it's amazing. It's so good. And she is so into the guy who kidnaps her, but she also was really into the guy that was stalking her, and it is just a wild, entertaining ride, and I loved it, and I need you all to read it now. And those are all books that I'm obsessed with that you need to read before the end of the year. These are books that I've seen so many of my friends pick up and a lot of people read, and I feel like they are like the books we are collectively loving of 2022, so please pick them up if you have not yet. And that's all I have. Make sure you check out everybody's videos down below. I'm excited to see what they recommend. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.